hablar inglés. Es mejor como esto. Okay. I think that there will be some other people. Yesterday there were a lot of people, and now not a lot. Maybe they've been afraid after what I explained. So I don't know. So you are here, that means that you are not afraid. Okay, so today I will talk about something that is a bit more complex and with the solutions that gave an international patent to some works we did in matter of research. I say we did because there were 3 persons, a PhD student, first of all, and 2 other co-supervisors, myself and Sébastien Mavromatis, who is a professor at the University of Marseille. So, I will try to do it in 1 hour, even if sometimes it will be a bit hard, but it will be okay, I think. So you can ask me questions, and 3 of you sent me emails, so it's a very good thing that you can send me email to ask me things about the presentation, about any other thing, so it's good like that. So, the title of this presentation is a registration of images of different different modalities in remote sensing. As a matter of fact, I talked about remote sensing because it's a very important field right now, and it will be more and more important because of UAV. UAV means unmanned aerial vehicles, that are those vehicles that go by themselves, or you can control from remote control. So UAV are very important, not only for military applications, and even military applications will become very few compared to civilian applications. For the control of agriculture, for the control of pollution, for control of urbanization, and so on. So there are a lot of applications with UAV, and so with remote sensing. Remote sensing deals with satellite images, airborne images, UAV, and so on. So, remote sensing is in the title because it's a main application, but what I will talk about is based on methodology that is original and can be applied to several other fields, as medicine, for example, to images as MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, and an X-ray scanner, for example. These 2 modalities are really different. They provide information that are completely different. And so, sometimes it's very interesting, not even sometimes, more and more it will be interesting to make these informations gathered in a single model, and for that we need registration. So, the presentation will deal with methodology. How can we register, that is, how can we identify the position, the locations, the position of the points of 2 images when they are of different modalities. There are solutions in the case of the same modality, and it's a very old, very ancient problem with solutions, a lot of solutions when images are from the same modalities. Maybe you have heard about optical flow, block matching, and snakes, active control. There are several solutions when the modality is the same, because the information in these images, when the modality is the same, is of the same type. But when you use, for example, a radar image and an optical image in remote sensing, you have different types of information in the images. And so it's very difficult to compare and to match this information and these images. So that is the purpose of the talk. I will start with some applications, and then we will go very quickly into the problem itself and how to find a solution for that. So, there is something wrong written, it's a UAV, not UFA. So it's remote sensing. So do you see enough, or do we have to switch off the light? Is it okay like that?
No.
Or maybe, oh yes, maybe Professor wants to switch off the light. Maybe not. So, let's continue anyway. So, this is a satellite, and there are a lot of satellites, and even there are websites that enable to see which are the trajectories of satellites, what are all the satellites in the... Oh, thank you. I think it's much better like that. I think so. So, applications. And for example, in this case, you have 3 images from the same region. 3 images. The first one is a radar image. That is, a radar sends a signal and receives something that comes back from the signal when interacting with the matter. That is a radar. And you have also the second one, that is a multispectral image. That is an optical image. It means that there are sensors in the satellite or in the airplane, on the UAV, that catches the energy. We call it radiometry. That is what we call also albedo from the ground, for example, and it catches it in a given wavelength band. So it is what we call passive imagery compared to radar, that is active imagery. The idea is that we catch what is in a given bandwidth, and we do it for several bandwidths, not only in the visible spectrum, but also very often in the infrared part of the spectrum that is not visible with infrared wavelength. So this is multispectral because we have, for example, 7 bands, depending on yellow, green, red, infrared, far, near infrared, and so on. Thank you very much for the light. So, and the last one is hyperspectral image. An hyperspectral image is an image in which each pixel has a lot of values that are in fact all the frequencies, all the possible frequencies, and the energy in all possible frequencies. For example, currently we can have like 512 or 1024 frequencies, energies in the frequencies. So it's like a multispectral, but with much more band. And in fact, it's completely different because in one case we have globally some energy in some given bands, and in this case, for example, with hyperspectral, for each pixel you have a spectrum that is given, so it enables, for example, to catch what is about the material in the ground, what is either iron, gold, or I don't know, and very often things that are much more complex than that. So there are different sensors, and we need to gather all of that. And how can we do that? That's the purpose of what I will explain. Usually, we do not match all the images between 2 by 2, but we make them match with another thing that is a kind of image that is GIS. I don't know if you know about GIS, Geographical Information System. For example, you have a map. This map, as those you know, and to each area, each item in the map, you can attach some information. So, how to make images match with this map and so on. So this is a problem. So let's go through a few applications. It is used, for example, for agricultural control, that are images in which we selected we extracted the information about the growth of vegetation, for example, of culture, and this, for example, can be used for controlling the water distribution. A few times ago, 6 months ago, I was in France. I used to live in France. So I was in France, and I was in Bourgogne. Bourgogne is an area with a very good wine, and there is a town called Pommard, and it's a very good, there is a very good wine there, and I was very surprised because I saw an UAV, and this UAV was controlled by a man who wanted to check about the vineyard. So this will be used more and more in the future. This was for a problem in Iguazu. I think you know, that's in South America, that's close, not close to Peru, but not very far from Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. And there was some urbanization that was wild urbanization, and that was very, very bad because there were a lot of environmental problems to control, but it's very difficult to check it from the ground. And using remote sensing, we can check about that and having some feedback to the different government of Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. Pollution control. Let's go a bit faster now. This is Subsidence map of Mexico. We can get it using radar images and interferometry. It gives the way, for example, the ground moves because you know that, I think you know that Mexico has been built on a lake, and so everything is coming down little by little, and there is a need to control it. So, after talking about applications, let's go now into the problem. So, what is registration? Registration is the following problem. We have two images, and we want to make these images matching geometrically. That is, we want to know for one pixel of one image, what is the corresponding pixel in the other image. In order to do that, there are several ways to handle this problem, and I will go through, and then we will see how to solve it. So one main problem, and this is very important, I just take some water. I got to drop it here. So one main problem is the following one. It's a kind of problem, it's not binary. That is, when you have an image, if you have exactly the same information in another image to make it match, it has not interest at all, because you have exactly the same thing. You see, usually you capture an image, and then maybe 1 month later, or a few days later, I don't know, or with other conditions, you want to match the images, but there is not exactly the same information in these images, because else there is no interest for that. So that means that images we want to register do not contain exactly the same information. On the other hand, there is a common information, because if there is no common information, you cannot make the registration. Suppose you have a picture of an area with a field, 2 years later there is a town, you cannot make the registration. So you can make the registration, for example, if you want to use that for urban planning, when having an image and then 1 month or 2 months later, some houses have been built, some building grow, and so on. So that's what you want to capture. So on one hand, you have a part of information that is common, and on the other hand, there is a need to find what are the differences. So what is important in registration is to find which kind of information is common. When you know that, there is no problem. And basically, to know that, there are several ways to do it, but we need to find what we call landmarks. Landmarks are locations you can pair in order to have the transformation that enables to transform one image geometrically into the other image and then to map and to compare and so on. So, this is an example here. And there are two types of problems, two things. One is to know about the transformation, which transformation do we have? And this is not obvious. I will talk a little bit about that. And second point, having a set of landmarks to provide the matching process. So, about the transformations, usually, if you have a satellite, the satellite is very, very high. So, the height of the mountains are a bit small, more or less small compared to the height of the satellite. And if you have the same type of sensors and so on, we can say in some way that one image is derived from the other image by only a translation and a rotation. This is globally true. And in order to provide registration, we first use the GPS information. That is, we know globally, roughly, where are one image compared to the other one. And then we need to refine the process and to find this transformation, this translation and rotation, that makes precisely match the images. But in other cases, you can have a scaling factor, and in other cases, you can have a projective transformation. I talked about projective transformations yesterday. That is, for example, some perspective. You have that even with satellites. And when you have a new UAV, which is at lower altitude, lower height, you will have more complex transformations as piecewise polynomial transformations, because there will be mountain and variations of the ground and more than only projections. So this is a problem that is to find which transformation, or not to find, but to decide of which transformation will be the right to be taken. So in this case, we can also have another approach that is interesting, and that's what I will say, that we can say that if there is a more complex transformation, locally on a given area of the image, it can be like rotation, translation, and eventually scaling, because it can be considered as a derivative of the global deformation. That is, instead of trying to find a very complex transformations to apply from one to the other one, we can say that locally we have rotation and translation, and eventually scaling. And then you use all this pairing to provide even a piecewise polynomial transformation as B-cubic and so on. So, second point is how to get a set of landmarks to provide the matching process. I remember, that's a long time ago, that's 34 years ago, I worked at this time, I used to work at this time on image processing and satellite images, and at this time, sometimes, in order to get the landmarks, we just use the mouse, or something like the mouse, to click on an area and then to say, this corresponds to this other area. So after that, there were a lot of works, And among these works, there were, as I told you, a lot of things. And for example, maybe you know, or you don't know, so I will not go through that, but there are recent work, I say recent, they last from maybe 17 years, because it was in 1999, the works on the Swift scale invariant feature transform. Does it sound? Have you heard about that? No? Okay, so don't worry, I will not talk about that. It's a way to find some features related to a location. So if I take a point, I consider a point, a pixel, and this pixel, I will take a window around it, and I will find some, I will measure, I will evaluate, I will calculate some features that are invariant through some transformations. Okay? And if you are interested in that, you can send me an email. I will send you references. There is a basic article from Gabriel Lowe. Lowe is not with the V, but the W. Lowe. I don't know how to pronounce correctly. That was the first works in 1999. Then he improved that 10 years ago. And there were other works about that, as for example, SURF, S-U-R-F, and others. So if you are interested in that, you can find on the internet some basic publication on that, or you can ask me if you want. But I will not go inside that because it would take too much time. There are other ways before that was used as optical flow from Lucas and Canade. There were Harris corner and a set of and block matching processes. So there are a set of ways to find pairs of landmarks. But all these approaches mainly deal with the same modality. And when we worked on this problem, that was almost 6 years ago, and we published just a little at the beginning because in my university they told me, don't publish about that, we are trying to get a patent. So we got a patent with that. So about me it's not very important, but the university was happy with that. And so there are not many works, and that was really the first work that was efficient to make the matching, to evaluate the similarity of two areas in two images from different modalities. So, let's see. Oh, we see not very well, but it's okay. We have, again, on the left an optical image, and on the right a radar image. And we can see, I don't know if we can see, maybe this one, I don't know which one now. Oh, no, I know which one. It's this one that projects light like that. Sorry. So, we are supposed to see, that's the right sentence, we are supposed to see something similar in the two images. And it's important that you can see because so that gives me the opportunity to take some water. It's this one. No. Yes. Yes, very good, thank you. Thank you very much. Perfect. Okay. So now you can see that these two images are of the same area, but there are really very different things in the two images. For example, some areas cannot be seen on one image, the river, some rivers, for example, some parts of the coast here, for example, you don't see it very well here, and other things you can see very well on the image on the right, and you cannot see on the image on the left. So, us, as human beings, we have the intelligence to understand, we know that we can make it match. And the question is, thank you very much. And the question is how to find the algorithmic elements, and before the algorithmic elements, maybe the mathematical elements, and the reason why we are able to make such a matching. So, this is transformation. So, just before going through the problem, so as I told you, we consider first that there is a transformation that is rotation plus translation and scaling eventually. One question that you can ask to yourself is, oh, but do we perform the translation before the rotation or the inverse? What is the importance of the center of rotation? So these questions are not really good questions. In fact, there is no problem with that. Depending on what you do, there will be a center or another center of rotation, but once you choose once, you have a transformation. So we have not to take care about this problem. So, as I told you, there will be to characterize common information areas and to find landmarks. So, now we reach a very important question. When we use images of the same modality, landmarks are referred to the same type of information. But it's not anymore the case here. For example, if you take, I can let, for example, remote sensing, when you have MRI imaging in medicine, what you have is a density in each point, the density of hydrogen. It's a bit more complex than that, but roughly it's this. And we say there's a density of protons. It's roughly this information. And when you take an X-ray scanner image, you have the density in each point, the density of the elements. For example, if an element is heavy, has a lot of proton and neutron, so in this case, you have something very high. So it's things that are completely different. On the X-ray images, you see bones, and on MRI images, you see grease, you see water, and so on. So we cannot have the same landmarks, and so we cannot use the content of the pixels to make the matching. That is the key point of the problem that is here. So, because we cannot do that, we consider that it's not because of the content, but because of the spatial distribution relevance, we have to make the matching. For these reasons, here we cannot use, as I told you, the content of the pixels, but the distribution of relevant points. That means that first of all, we have to process the images depending on which kind of image it is. For example, you can have a gray level image, and then you process it, and you get a set of relevant points, and that is a binary image. You can have a multispectral image, and you have information in different bands, and the correlation within bands and so on, but at the end, we want to provide a binary image that is the image of relevant points. So, we can say that in some way we have two images, like that, and we cannot work directly on the image, so we go at a different level to set a bridge between these images, and this bridge is between binary image. So that is the first one. And so, depending on the modality, we have a process or another process. For example, if we have a radar image, we can apply a 2Z operator, we can then apply some thresholding and so on. If we have a multispectral image, we can, for example, try to make a compound of of this, the different bands, for example, using PCA or something like that, or ICA. ICA is independent component analysis, and then having a gradable image, and then having points and so on. So the idea for having a generic process is not to adapt the process to each modality, but to find a level at which all modalities are represented in a single way, so uniform representation of all modalities. So we have different processes depending on the modality, but then we start to work only on binary images, and we make the comparison of 2D cloud points. 2D, yes, clouds of points. So for each modality, we obtain a 2D cloud of points, that is a binary image, and then we try to make the two clouds of points matching. And that's what we get with two images. So on the left, we have the, I think it was the multispectral image, on the right, the radar image. And you can see here that, for example, I will try to do like that, yes. Here, we see it very well. Here, we don't see it. And there are rivers we don't see here, or not very well. We see very well here, and so on. So, in some way, we had two images with different representations, with different modalities and so on, and now we have two clouds of points, and even on the clouds of points, we are able to see that it corresponds to the same area. But as you can see, there are a lot of differences, and the question is how our brain is able to make the images match, because some things are completely different from one to the other one, and there are some common information. There are not a lot of common information, but in this case, we are able to do that. So we are trying to find a way to make, to transfer our intelligence to the computer. So for example, here we see very well the coast, and we see very well the coast, and there are other parts like that, and I think that our brain is capable to catch all of that and to make the matching. I don't know if we work like that, but that's what we try to do to transform the computer. So there are a lot of methods to make for registering 2D clouds of points. Maybe you know that, else you can learn that. As for example, ICP, iterated closest point, using geometric invariant. Then using RANSAC. RANSAC consists in finding some registration, and when finding some registration, we eliminate those points that are considered as outliers, and so we improve the process like that. That is, a set of points is not exactly the two sets of points to be compared, but a part of the set that are determined automatically during the process. So ICP provides something that is not accurate, RANSAC provides something that is more accurate, and finally, there is a method that is very classical. I told about that yesterday, but maybe some persons don't know. Maybe most of you already know. It's the Earth transform. The Earth transform is a method that transforms problem, I would say, of pattern recognition into a problem of, let's say, statistics. The basic idea, I will not discuss too much on that, and I just check about the hour, yes. I try to go slowly so that you can understand when it's difficult, but you can ask me for questions if you want. So I just give you a few words on that. Paul Earth defined a method more than 50 years ago, and this method is very, very powerful. So at the very beginning, it uses this method to detect the lines, and then it was used to detect circles and so on. And finally, this method is used to characterize items, occurrences of a given model with given parameters. For example, you have a circle. A circle is a point and the radius that are 3 parameters because the center has 2 coordinates, x and y, and the radius, that's a 3 coordinates, and a circle goes through 3 points in general, okay? And even a line like that, if 3 points are on the same straight lines, can be considered as a degenerated circle with its center at the infinite, for example. So the idea was at the beginning for lines and circles and so on, but it is now applied since sometimes to find items of a model that has parameters, that has m parameters, and that depends on m set of data. So I don't go into the method because it's a bit complex. Oh yes, just a little bit. We have no time for that. If you have questions, or I can give another talk if you want, but we have no time right now. I know how much stuff there is after that and so on. So the F transform in such a way could be considered as a generalization of Rundsack approach. In the fact, it's not the case, but in the spirit, it's a bit the same. That is, we take all the possibilities, and all the wrong possibilities give noise, and all the right possibilities give accumulation for voting, a bit like yesterday I talked about. And then these accumulations show that there is something happening with some parameters, and we find the parameters by this way. So when we use the F transform, how can we use the F transform? Because in this case, there is not to detect the line, there is not to detect circles and so on. So what we want to detect is a transformation. Transformation depends on 3 parameters that are a translation, 2 parameters, tx and ty, and a rotation that is theta for the angle of rotation. So we can take pairs of points, a set of pair of points in each image, and we say we have a transformation that transforms these 3 points in 3 other points, okay? In most of the case it would be wrong, and it would generate a set of tx, ty, and theta that is wrong. And in some cases it will be right. And then the accumulation will show the result that is a right tx, ty, and theta. But this method is supposed to work, and it works, but it works only when there is not a lot of noise, and this is not the case of the problem we have. So, in some way, we found the way to determine, to characterize the value of the parameter of the transformation, but this works only in theoretical case, in very simple cases, when there is almost no noise and so on. So we were very deceived, except that we had other solutions in addition to that. So, yes. There is a last remark, and I will come back on the very general things. Yesterday I told you that in some way what I say is very simple, very rough, but globally it's the matter. So we have the data, data are images. We have the information. In this case, informations are relevant points. So information is what you can extract from data without knowing to what they are belonging or to what they are referred and so on. And you have the knowledge. So using only information is not sufficient here. And we need to extract information in reference with some knowledge. So additional stuff that is knowledge. There is always knowledge when we say it is the translation and rotation. This is knowledge because we know what we look for, but it's not enough. So the basic idea of the method was not to stop at this point and having something very, very rough and not working very well, but going further and introducing knowledge in the method. And which knowledge we have? So, the answer is in the last line. When you have images of two modalities, you capture information referred to these modalities. But in the practical life, whatever it will be, that is remote sensing, that is medical imaging and so on, there are items that are close one to the other one. For example, the bones are close to the brain and close to the skin. So some images which capture the skin, capture the brain and so on. Other image captures the bones and so on. But also these items are different. They are close one to the other one. They touch one to the other one. And so finally the relevant points are supposed to belong to the boundary of the two items. That's the same thing with radar and, as I showed you before, and multispectral, for example. So we can, this boundary, what is this boundary? Boundary is something that is along a line. So finally, I showed you before the images of the bay and so on, and I showed you some lines. These lines were roughly good or not, correct or not, but we could see them. So in fact, we see these lines because we are able to interpolate some information in the images. And this information, this is related to a theory that is Kanitsa theory, perceptual grouping. I don't know if you know about that. For example, if I'm here, you see, like that, it's okay. Suppose someone enters and someone who do not know me enters, and then he will not see my feet, but he will guess there are feet because here there are some junction and some other things like that. So the idea was to find how we interpret images in order to transfer that in the process. And the idea was to find something that was like lines to be interpreted as lines. And what we saw as like lines is to say that whatever it is, that is a very smooth line, very noisy line, with lacking points and so on, to find something that is locally as a dot with a small set of points that has an orientation and that we can interpret as a part of a line going through a point with a tangent direction. So, let's see these images. These are the set of points that were two images of the same modality. We apply it to the operator. We get this, and on the right part, it's a common information, or the common points, and on the left part, the difference. So you see that there is more noise than common information, and anyway, we succeed to make the matching. So, the idea is the following one. I told you, I watch the point, and at this point, I'm able to say it looks like if a line goes through this point. So it's maybe noisy, there may be just a few points and so on. And we want to introduce and to define a primitive that say it's the same thing whatever will be the situation. So for example, in this case, you can have a line like that, like that, like that, with a lot of noise outside, with lacking points. We just want to have one primitive that corresponds to, for example, this point. And at this point, we want to say, here, there is a line going through. So we do not model the line. We just define a primitive that says, here there is a line going through, and this line is oriented in this, in the direction of the tangent line, that's the direction of the local cloud of points. So in order to do that, I will not go through, because I see the time's going on, so I will not go through the algorithm, but all of that has been published and so on. So we have a method to determine very quickly if a little cloud of points correspond to a line or not. We have a mask that we make rotate, and we find how many points are covered on that, how many points are outside, and so on. And by this way, we are able to say, yes, when I go to this point, there are a set of points oriented in this direction. So finally, by this way, we eliminate all single points and all these dirty things in the image, and we have a reduced set of elements that are the primitives, the items of the primitives, but this reduced set of elements is really relevant. In some way, we eliminate the noise, and we extract in a better way some information, some type of information related to the knowledge we have introduced. So, this is a method that I will go through very quickly. So, globally, what we do is we define a mask with a radius and a thick line that rotates in this mask. We apply it to each point, and we define by this way a set of primitives with their location, x, y, their orientation, theta, and a score that means, oh, they are really relevant, we have really a lot of points just doing like that, or not. So, we have x, y, theta, and s, that is a score. We sort this primitive by decreasing values of the score. That means that the first one will be a relevant primitive. There will be a part of a line going really very well at this location, and so on. And then we extract all this, we only keep those primitives whose distance between two primitives are more than a distance, a minimum distance that is d-min. So, after the first primitive, we take the second one, and maybe it's very close to the first one, so we eliminate it. Then we have another one that is a bit far, we keep it, and so on. By this way, we have a well-distributed set of primitives. So we have reduced again the primitives, but we have something that is very reliable at this time. And then we have, I show you here the evolution of the problem. At the very beginning, in the rough mode, it was not possible to compare images from different modalities. Then we went through a level in which we can set a bridge between the two sets of data, modified data, that are clouds of points, 2D clouds of points. Then we tried to apply F transform on that in order to find the transformation to go from one to the other one, but it was very sensitive to the noise. Then we introduced some knowledge, that is, locally we are looking for points that have a kind of orientation, a little cloud of points, and now we are going to compare the two sets of primitives. So we have a very reduced set of points, but that are very relevant. In order to do that, so yes, well, I have 5 minutes. I can have 10 minutes. It's okay. So in order to do that, we applied transformation of one primitive on one side to another primitive on the other side, on one image and the other image. And when we apply that, because we have 3 parameters, that is also what we have for the transformation. When we have that, we will have a single application. So it's very easy to do it. If we consider it using complex number, we have these equations here, and we noticed that because the rotation will provide alpha angle, for example, so we have a kind of variable separation. That is, we can say that the alpha, the difference of orientation of the primitives gives the rotation and angle. So in some way, it's a very good news. That means that we can find the theta angle of the rotation. But this is a bit fancy. It's not completely true. And that's a new idea that happens here, that this is true only if the subset of points correspond. So in some way, it's a kind of deadlock problem. If we have two sets of points that correspond, we find the transformation. But the goal is to find where are the set of points that correspond. So it's a bit stupid because we have the solution, but the solution works only if we are in the right situation. In fact, it's more interesting than that, because if you remind what I said, we have also the opposite situation. That is, if we take two areas in the image that are not corresponding, in this case, no angle will appear. In other way, we take two parts of the images. One is located at a given location, another one, and we take all the primitives and we make the differences of angles of the primitives. If the areas are completely random, the result will be completely random and nothing will appear. If the areas correspond, the result will not be random and there will be a peak appearing at the alpha angle. So that's what we studied theoretically with values like that. So we say we go to a location in one image, we go to a location on the other image, we take a window, a neighborhood around these images, we compare, we make the difference of all the angles of the angle of all the primitives, and we see if something like that appears. When it appears, that means that these 2 points are 2 landmarks that can be paired. So right now we do not look for the transformation, but we reverse the problem in order to find pairs of locations that matches into the 2 images. So I will not go. I will be in time. I will not go very deeply in that because there can be also false positives. For example, in this case, you have something that appears here and it's not something correct. This is because of random. And there are also problems related to the discretization of angles and to the size of the mask and so on. So we studied all of that. And we studied also theoretically, and we applied an upper bound of the false positive apparition. And we found, so I don't go through this formula. And finally, we got this result. That is, we don't look for, I remind you, we don't look for the transformation, but we look for pair of locations in one image and in the other image that are supposed to be similar. And for example, here you can see, so the neighborhood is put approximately. It's just to say this area looks like this area. This works here, this works here, and it doesn't work for the red one because here there is nothing relevant. So here, what we have in this red window, we can have it also here, and it's normal that we don't have a correct result. Having a set of pairs like that, of location, we can then say that this location corresponds to this location and so on, and using another process, we can find, like a ransack process to eliminate those locations, for example, in red, we can find the transformation. So this has been applied on the image I showed you before, and it gives this result. And now I arrive at the conclusion. So I will repeat a bit what I told you before. We have two images of two modalities. Because the content of the pixels is different, even the representation of the pixel is different, we cannot compare them directly. We cannot extract what is in the pixel. So we study the distribution of the spatial distribution of the relevance in each image. We get, by this way, two binary images, two clouds of points. We try to compare these two clouds of points, and we do not reach this goal because when there is noise, it's very difficult without using any knowledge on the data. The knowledge in this case is that in most of the problem we have, not theoretical set of 2D set of points, but when using remote sensing images, medical images, there are junctions, and these junctions are lines, these boundaries are lines, and locally these lines looks like part of oriented set of points. And by this way we define a primitive, and it's these primitives that enable to remove, to retrieve all the noise, and to focus on what is really relevant that we compare. By this way, we were about to find the solution of having the transformation, and we were a bit deceived when, after finding the variable separation, we found it was not the right thing, but this process involved the fact that we can have something significant to say one location can be paired with another location. And so, muchas gracias por su atención. Yes, I took a few minutes more. I'm sorry for that, but